Okay, hello, Pastor Tim. How are you?
Hello, Ross. I'm good,
Yeah.
thank you. It's really nice to see you again.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. And I actually I'm glad that today we can meet again in our video, our interview.
Yes.
And still according about the COVID. Uh, I wonder some question I want to ask you, Pastor. Could be?
Yes, of course.
Okay, yeah. Because many people right now still, yeah, just like Brazil and Ecuador and also some countries in Africa, so many people dying even in the street, yeah, just like flies dying in the street. So
Right.
I think I want to ask you. Maybe my question is connecting with the philosophy terms, philosophy perspective, but I hope and I know you can answer my question, Pastor.
I will do my very best.
Thank you. And my first question, Pastor, do you think this pandemic is the God's punishment or God's love to human being?
Okay. I don't think it's either God's punishment or God's love.
Oh,
I don't understand how it would be compatible with a God of love to send this, in
oh,
which so many people are not only losing their lives,
oh,
but are cut off from those who are closest to them, unable to be with them in their dying moments.
yeah.
That seems particularly cruel. I don't think it's punishment, because I do not believe the God that I follow, the
Oh,
God that I worship,
oh,
sends illnesses, diseases, disasters in this way.
oh, okay. Okay. So either punishment and God's love is you don't choose one of them.
Not not as a direct consequence of this pandemic. No.
So uh, uh, if like that, what is your opinion about this pandemic?
Well, my opinion. I mean, I'm not. I'm not a biologist or a medical doctor
Yeah,
at
yeah,
all. So I have to listen to what we're told as to how these viruses arise.
yeah.
But I mean, it's really difficult to answer, because I think it is something that has arisen. Once all this is over, there'll be lots of inquiries, discussions, dissections,
Yeah.
and maybe we will be able to isolate exactly how it started.
Oh,
And it might end up being to do with some sort of mistake we made. It might just be like any of the other viruses we faced across the centuries.
mhm.
Something which is, I mean, there are so many things now which we know we can quite simply inoculate, vaccinate against, which once upon a time themselves would have been killers.
Yeah.
Things do happen, but as to the precise cause of this particular epidemic, I do not have an answer for you.
Okay. So you also your answer is not pandemic because human error. You
Well,
did not
I
choose.
think that's
So
I think that's still to be proved.
okay, it's not human error, not God's punishment, not God's love. So what is it? What's the reason of this pandemic, Pastor?
Well, I think, as I was trying to say just now, at the moment we don't know the reason.
Oh.
You know, we know now
Mhm.
very often when through history when there have been pandemics,
Yeah.
we've not known the cause until much later. You know, as science, as technology, as our knowledge increases, we can find reasons for these things. You know, if you think of things like cholera, you know, which we didn't know for a long time, came through dirty water, and we didn't know that the plague was being spread by you know, rats and things.
Yeah.
We just didn't know, and at this stage, there may well be scientists who could tell us exactly where it came from.
Okay.
But I would be very loath to put blame on any one cause.
Okay. So, you mean that you don't choose any answer because you wait for the scientists to prove it.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay. So, okay. Let's say like that. Uh, but in this suffering time, as a pastor, as a Christian people, we should show that God's love inside us. So, how to prove God's love during this suffering time, Pastor?
Yes, it is a real challenge for us, isn't it? I think you have to reflect on the nature of the God that you believe in, and there may be those who ascribe to God an understanding, as you asked in your first question, of punishment. But I cannot reconcile that image of God with the God who I believe called me into ministry and who influences the way I live my life.
Yeah.
So to try and reassure people at this time, you could look at, may I just refer to my Bible a moment?
Okay. Please.
So you could certainly go to 2 Corinthians, the second letter to the Corinthians.
Yeah.
At the beginning chapter of that.
Chapter 1.
Chapter 1, where Paul says, "Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of mercies and the God of all consolation, who consoles us in all our affliction, so that we may be able to console those who are also in any affliction." So it's not, you know, that's a God speaking of being alongside us when we are suffering, not a God who says, "I'm going to make them suffer." And the other passage I would point to is in Romans chapter 8.
Yeah.
Where we are told, you know, that there is nothing that can separate us from the love of God.
Yeah.
We're told that not angels, nor rulers, nor things to present, nor things to come. It's a whole list of things, and it says nothing can separate us from that love.
Yeah.
And so those are the sort of verses I go to, which speak of a God who wishes to be alongside us in whatever may befall us.
Yeah.
And as I said earlier, I cannot reconcile that with a God who would inflict this punishment on us.
But if we read our Bible in the Old Testament, yeah, so many times that God punishment the human, even the Jewish, the Israelites, God's punished them because they are maybe they are sinner, or they are want to broke the God's law. So
Well,
can you?
I think I think that those stories we read then relate to perhaps an understanding of God that came out of their particular experience.
Yeah.
But I, for myself, and I only speak for myself, not on behalf of my church or anything else.
Okay.
I think the mindset was such that because they believed that they were God's chosen people,
Yeah.
when disaster befell them,
Yeah.
all they could do was ascribe it to somehow or other some action that they had either taken
Yeah.
or not taken, which had incurred God's anger.
Okay.
So I don't think it was necessarily that God did punish them in that way. So if you think of say a natural disaster that might befall them, with people falling ill or falling dead, or the crops failing or something like that, if you think that God is the one leading you every step of the way, and you're God's chosen people, then presumably your mindset is along the lines of everything should go well for us. And if it doesn't, then it must be our fault, that we must have committed sin.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
That it's the way it was perceived rather than, I think, necessarily a reality.
Can you repeat it? The last sentence. Can you repeat it again?
Yes. That the way people, Israelites, perceived those disasters that befell them was more to do with their own views about their relationship with God than it was God inflicting punishment on them.
Okay.
We see it if you read through the history. When Israel had a monarchy,
a kingdom.
Whenever things went well, they ascribed it to a good king.
Yeah.
Whenever things went badly, they ascribed it to a bad king.
Bad king, yeah.
You see? Yeah. And I think there's something similar. That it would too readily to say God's done this to us because and to examine themselves. But I don't necessarily think that those stories are proof that God chose to punish people by the thousands.
Okay. Yeah. So we go to the next question, Pastor. Okay. So coming again. So what is the best way for us, for you, to show that you have God's love, Pastor? The best way in this moment, in this situation?
I think the best way is it's a combination of not being fearful in this situation.
Okay, not fearful.
But at the same time, not being foolish. Because we believe that God is alongside us, because we believe that ultimately God holds us safe, it is not a reason to take risks in a pandemic. We should still listen to what the government is telling us about hygiene, about precautions, about self-isolating. All of those things we shouldn't dismiss. You know that passage in scripture where it talks about the lion laying down with the lamb, and you'll be able to pick up a poisonous snake. It's not testing God in that way. I'm not going to walk up to somebody I know might have COVID and embrace them because I can say, well, God will protect me. That's not what God does.
That is foolishness. That is foolishness.
That is, absolutely.
So,
can I just say one more thing about that?
Okay.
That there's, throughout our experience of faith, we bring to bear on any situation a number of different factors. So we bring experience, and we bring what we believe is God's revelation to us, and we bring our own reason into situations. So we look at all of these things.
So can you repeat it once again? The last
Yes,
answer.
that I think we bring to any situation like this, or we bring a combination of course we bring our faith, but our faith is looked at through the experience we have of previous situations we may have been through. We bring through reason. So we bring our minds into it as well as our hearts.
Okay, so
as to what?
You mean we have faith, we have reason, and we have what? One more? Emotion or something?
Revelation.
Revelation.
Yes.
Okay.
Revelation. Yeah.
But sometimes, Pastor, in this suffering time, our faith said, God will provide us. But our reason, where is God actually? But so that's why, can you explain to me how to align the reason with our faith in this context, Pastor?
Yes. I think I'd want to say that I don't separate reason from my faith.
Oh, okay.
So one of the things I sometimes say to a church congregation is that as well as bringing your heart into worship, you bring your mind into worship as well.
Okay.
We're not asked to set aside our minds. I think God gave us minds and hearts, and we use all of that.
Okay.
And my experience of particularly difficult times in my life is that God has been very, very close to me.
Okay.
And my reason is that feels very tangible. It feels incredibly real to me.
Okay.
And my faith tells me that God's promise is always to be with us, not always to make life a smooth path for us.
I agree. But sometimes as a sinner, our reason always push us to live, to let the reason conduct our life, not the faith conduct our life, because the situation, the phenomena show us that there is no God's love in this situation. So it's a very hard to combine the reason and the faith, even though we cannot separate. But sometimes the faith and reason sometimes just like one each other like that.
Yes. I mean, I do understand that, but I think for me, I think I cannot let go of my belief that my struggle sometimes, and it is a struggle, I agree, to hold all of that together in a way I don't ever want to hear myself saying, this is all, this is to do with God and I don't understand, but maybe one day I will. I don't like that sense of just saying, well, we can't possibly understand why we're having a pandemic right now, but it must be something to do with us being sinners. It must be to do with, God's anger. I don't think that's true. It's certainly not helpful. And so I accept it's easy for me to say that sitting here in my nice study. It might be very different trying to have that conversation in the midst of a hospital ward with people full of COVID patients.
Yeah.
But I still wouldn't say anything else, because that's the faith I preach, that it is held together with reason. I think Jesus was a very reasonable person. Jesus thought things through, and he challenged people to make those connections. Jesus never kind of just said, well, that's tough because that's what God's decided. He helped people to see, that very often we have to play our part in this world.
Yeah. So, what is the thing? Just you said we have to play our part. Can you make an example for me?
Yes. Yes. Think of the book of Genesis.
Pardon?
Think of the book of Genesis.
Oh, Genesis. Okay.
So this is in my mind because it was our reading for our services last Sunday.
Okay.
And in Genesis, it talks about creation.
Okay.
And it talks about humanity having dominion over everything.
Okay, yes.
Now, for too long and for too often, that dominion has been read as an aggression.
Okay.
That we can do whatever we like with it. It's ours to use and to misuse.
Yeah.
And I think we've misused it.
Okay.
So if it should turn out that COVID is our fault through bad whatever, if it should turn out for whatever reason that we are at fault in bringing this virus into being, then you could say we have not listened to God's command to steward safely, sensibly, creatively, holistically, taken for our own good.
Yeah.
So you see, I think these very ancient words in Scripture still speak to us very powerfully about events today, which is not saying God sent COVID because we didn't look after it. It's not saying that. But it's saying we were warned. We have a responsibility. How we treat the world.
Okay. So, based on your answer just right now, I remember one books written by Philip Yancey, Amazing Grace, the title of the book.
Oh, yes, I know it.
You know?
Yeah, I know the book, yeah.
Yeah, in that book, Yancey said that if something bad happened, do not search what is the reason of the bad thing, but you have to how to respond to the bad thing in the grace of a God.
Yes.
Because please.
That word, Ramos, that word grace is so wonderful because it encompasses so much.
Yeah, sir.
I've got a copy of that book on my shelf just here.
Okay, yeah. So you one of the fan of Philip Yancey, yeah? Just like me.
Well, I've got some of his books, yes.
Yeah. That is so relieving because just like me, I have one period of my time when my first son punished by doctor because the cancer, blood cancer. At the time, he just born, only 2 months or 3 months after he was born. It is very, very hard for me. And 1 year after he was born, I always searching, why God? Why?
Yeah.
But at the end of the road, after I always ask why, I found myself answer my question. So me answer mine. It's not good. And at that because of that, I blame God.
Yes.
So just like also the Yancy books, disappointment with God.
Yeah.
About the job. Yeah. Ah, that is not good. So I'm totally agree with you.
Okay. I think just on that point about getting angry with God, blaming God, that's okay at times.
Oh, really?
God's big enough to take our anger. If we're in relationship with God, then we should be able to get angry sometimes. It might be something we think through, and then later we think, well, perhaps I shouldn't have done that. But in the same way that we get angry with those in our family and those we love, you're in relationship, and sometimes that happens. And I think if you're feeling desperately frustrated and upset at times of great distress, like you must have been with your son, it's okay to get angry.
Okay.
God's big enough to take our anger.
Okay. So you want to say that in this time, if somebody feels so stressed, full of stress, maybe you can anger to God.
If you wish, but then allow yourself to be healed by the same God.
Okay.
Held,
Heal?
Yes, to be healed.
To be healed
from that anger, so that you get angry in the same way that you might get very angry with someone, and then you kind of have a hug and make up.
Oh, yeah.
Allow God to kind of, embrace you.
Yeah. That is the two things simultan, even one to the right, one to the left. But suddenly come to us. Yeah. Oh, thank you, Pastor. I'm so relieving because you make me remember the grace of God. Only the grace. Yeah, because of that, we have as a Christian, we have to depend on the grace of God only.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So thank you very much, Pastor. God bless you, Pastor.